Hi, Steve Stein from Guitar Zoom here, and I thought I would help you out a little bit in kind of understanding how people approach soloing in the real world. I get asked a lot, for instance, when are you supposed to use major, or when are you supposed to use minor, or pentatonic, or diatonic, and all sorts of different things. And although I can't get super deep into it, what I do want to do is give you a little idea of how you can think about this in your head, in terms of how you'd approach soloing. Now, this isn't absolute, and there's all kinds of different ways that you can do things in music. I'm just trying to give you a general idea of how to approach this. So if we think of this as three different groups, okay, we've got the major key group of music, we've got the pure minor key group of music, and in the middle, we're going to call that the crossover, okay? So the major key column is going to be anything that is truly major. Like if you think of really, really, really pop songs, right? If we were going to play, like if I was playing Hold My Hand by Hootie and the Blowfish or something like that, something that's really, really major. The solo really needs to be major in that case. A lot of country music would be in that category. Certainly old school country would fit into that category, not so much maybe some of the new country, but old school country, it would fit in that category. Folk music, for the most part, would fit into that category. Just anything that's true major, you would solo major over the top, which seems pretty self-explanatory, but it makes sense. Like a lot of times when I was younger and I was teaching lessons a lot, I would get guitar students that their jazz teachers would send them to me for guitar lessons because they would give them jazz charts. And then every time the solo would come up, they would play minor pentatonic over major, and then the jazz teachers would go, "Stop doing that." So, there are certainly jazz, is another thing. Anytime the song is truly major, we want to approach it from a major scale perspective, whether it's major pentatonic or diatonic or whatever it is that you'd be using. Over on the other side, pure minor. Now, what is pure minor? Well, minor would be anything that really is minor, right? If we've got a song that is based off a minor chord. Whatever it might be. Think of, I don't really have the right tone for this, but that sort of thing. Anything that's really, really minor, we're going to solo minor over the top, okay? The other thing that's going to fit into this category, for the most part, is metal. Metal's going to fit into this category, okay? Metal, for the most part, is predominantly minor sounding. Anytime you've got all these kind of chord progressional stuff, we're soloing, for the most part, minor over the top. We're not really doing that over the top, okay? So that's what minor would be, is either songs that are pure minor or songs that, for the most part, are more metal in nature or exotic sounding in nature like that. I think that's one reason why people are so gravitate to things like minor, is because it gives them a lot of expression to play various scales that the chords that are being played in the song and the solo that's being played, or the scale that's being played, can really be two vastly different things, and they can function quite well. But that's what minor would be. So again, Hootie and the Blowfish, not picking on Hootie and the Blowfish, maybe I am, but they could have a song that would be pure minor for sure, right? So the chordal center of that song would be based off a minor chord, whatever it might be. So that's when we would play minor, or the stylistic characteristic, which major had country and folk music and things like that. Minor would have metal, okay? Now, it's in the middle that you get this whole kind of crossover element where you're playing both major and or minor together or separately, or however you like. But certainly the big style of music that fits in the center here is blues, because blues music, unless the song is true minor, if you have a blues progression, like let's say you're doing Still Got the Blues by Gary Moore, for instance, that would be a minor blues, and it would fit in the minor category. But if you're playing standard major blues, you solo major and minor over the top of it. You might have something in A, and you're playing, even though it's an A major chord, you're still playing minor over the top, and it sounds fine. even though really you should be playing major because those chords are major, but we learned to play minor a lot over the top. So we can play major over the top, or we can combine major and minor together and put them together and make solos that way. So blues is the big crossover element. But what happens is that blues genre bleeds into other places, okay? So it bleeds into rock and roll. You think of Aerosmith or Guns N' Roses or Southern rock like the Allman Brothers or anything like that. AC/DC, needless to say. You know, those guys are playing rock and roll, but it's more, a lot of it is based off bluesy elements. So they're able to use major and minor at the same time, or they're using minor pentatonic or whatever, or Dorian or something like that, if you know what Dorian is, over a major chord progression, and it still works. So because of the blues, it enables us to be able to do that over rock and roll. Now, when we think of punk, this is another one. For the most part, you think of like early 70s punk, not the Green Day punk, but the raw punk of the 70s, like with the New York Dolls, or certainly with the Ramones, although there really weren't solos in the Ramones, but Sex Pistols, things like that. When they would go to do solos, they would borrow from the rock and roll blues idea, where they might be playing something that's very major chordal in nature, but they're actually soloing minor over the top to get that rock and roll feel. You know, as punk kept progressing, the solos kind of went away, and that raw rock and roll element sort of, you know, we got this sort of polished new punk of sorts. But the old school punk very much so. So that fits into that crossover category as well, because it's being influenced by blues and by rock and roll. So you get that. So the point is I just wanted to kind of get you to think about this a little bit on how different styles of music, different genres of music, or the pure elements of music, a minor song or a major song, can really define which scale you're going to be using at that particular moment in time when you're soloing. Now, to help you out a little bit, there's actually a link down below that you can click on, where you can download a cheat sheet that I've created that helps discuss all of these things. It shows you all of these different categories and discusses songs and different, you know, real world places where you can see these things in action. So I would strongly recommend, if you can, go ahead and click on that and grab that, and that will help you too. So anyway, I hate to talk your ear off, but I just wanted you to know that this is a really great little, you know, opportunity for me to kind of explain to you how you can approach different styles of music, and what scales you're going to be using in the real world by kind of thinking about it in these three columns. So I hope that helps you. So take care, stay positive, keep practicing, and I'll speak to you soon.